Okay, so I'm going to explain Lebanon because that's what everyone seems to be talking about right now. Yeah, I mean, it's actually not complicated, but nobody bothers to learn history, nobody bothers to learn basic definitions, so simple things become complicated. None of it's complicated. Um, to give you some sort of perspective, um, the difference between my IQ and an average person is about double the difference between an average person and someone with Down syndrome. So that's my situation. It's not always fun, but yeah, I'll try and explain Lebanon. Um, so basically, Lebanon is not a nation. It's not a country. Okay. So the basic definition: what's a nation? A nation is an ethno-religious people. It's a people. It's not a land area. Basic definitions: a nation is a people, ethno-religious people. It's not a land area. So Lebanon is a jurisdiction. It's not a nation. It never was a nation. It was a jurisdiction in the Ottoman Empire. Then it was ruled by the French as a jurisdiction. You can't. It's like Yugoslavia was a jurisdiction. Whenever you mix different people in a land area, they'll call it a country, they'll call it a nation, but it's false. It's actually simply a jurisdiction. And what's the primary feature of multicultural jurisdictions? They never, ever, ever function on their own. You see, Lebanon only functioned because it was part of the Ottoman Empire, because it was ruled by the Ottomans. Then the French ruled it after World War One, and that's where it got its sort of reputation as like the jewel of the Middle East during the French rule. But Lebanon itself never ever governed itself successfully ever. Like within 4 minutes of the French leaving, they broke out in a nasty civil war. So, so yeah, Lebanon is not a nation, it's a jurisdiction. A jurisdictions never ever function. Okay? So the problem goes further in that the Christian Lebanese seem to have, for one reason or another, fallen hook, line, and sinker for this democracy horseshit. That somehow democracy and voting works. It's never worked. The democracy is a late stage subversion. Okay, or it's the Christian short history. Christian nations, Western nations became great as Christian nations with kings. As soon as they implemented democracy, there was a slow slide downwards, and it only really works in certain instances of already established monoculture. Christian monocultures, it sort of works because they're already kind of stable. But in a multiculture, just forget about democracy. It's retarded. Okay, so the Christians, thinking they're educated, were actually educated really badly into believing this democracy horseshit. But the Muslims never fell for that crap. So they're actually doing it the right way, which they just bolster their nation. So the Shiites bolster their nation. What's their nation? It's their people. Druze bolster their nation. Christians go vote and write petitions because what? Something's happened to their brains. But I don't. It's like a black pill just to explain this. And so some people say, "Oh, Ian Blickus, what's your solution then?" I says, "Look, nations don't come easy. Like the Shiites had to fight and give money to some screaming guy, but they did it the right. The Christians never did it the right way, and then they think voting creates a nation. It doesn't. The only way to create a nation is to rally your people behind one leader, the same way the Shiites did it. But the Christians don't do that because they think they're smart, but they're not. That's it. What's going to happen? I can't predict the future. My thoughts are the government will go broke, and the Shiites are the only sort of force left with any kind of cash, so they'll probably just take the place over. But again, I don't think the Christians can blame anyone but themselves. They're voting and protesting and doing stupid stuff instead of bolstering their nation, and they can't use the minority argument either, because the Druze. How many Druze are there? The Jews are doing it the right way. They're bolstering the nations. The Christians are just for one reason or another, want to complain about politicians and stuff like this instead of just getting on with the job of creating a nation. So you don't create nations with voting or democracy. That's how you destroy nations. Okay? Not complicated.